Wife!
Do you remember what happened last Friday and where the hell we are today?
Well, on Friday we read Ezekiel chapter 25.
Sure as fuck did.
And in that chapter, it was all about Samuel L. Jackson.
No, it was not. Oh my God.
I mean, that was my favorite part because, I like Pulp Fiction and that was a great scene. And I was waiting for that quote the whole fucking Bible.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was there. But essentially, though, it was God telling everybody that he's going to wreak havoc on Ammon, Moab, Edom, and Philistia.
Yeah.
So it's the same shit he's going to do to the Israelites, except for now he's doing it to them.
And no remnants for you.
I just call me shocked here, but whatever. That's God's going to kill people. Go figure.
You murdery son of a bitch.
Right. So that was Ezekiel chapter 25.
Yes.
Which means that today we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 26.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, we are hopping into Ezekiel chapter 26.
Okay.
And before we start, just want to tell you a little bit about this chapter because we're talking about a different city than what we've normally talked about.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about Tyrus or Tyre, Tyre.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
And Ezekiel starts a new prophecy in this chapter.
Okay.
That goes on through the 20th chapter.
Got it.
Wait, no, ending in the 20th verse of chapter 28.
Got it.
Okay. So it's a couple chapters here, 26, 27, 28.
Sure.
Okay. And this is going to be a declaration of the judgments of God against Tyre. I'm guessing it's Tyre, not Tyre, since it's Tyrus.
See, I would have said Tyre.
I would have said Tyre, except that when we're talking about Tyrus.
Right.
So I don't know. Anyway,
God forbid we ever look up any pronunciations.
I mean, that is above my pay grade.
Right.
So, Tyre, we're going to call it Tyre.
Okay.
It's just more fun.
Sounds good.
It's a very famous Phoenician commercial city and major seaport, which was taken by Nebuchadnezzar after a very arduous siege of 13 years.
Uh-huh.
And it's located on the Mediterranean coast of Phoenicia, just north of Palestine.
Okay.
And it was a leading commercial center of the ancient world.
Got it.
Okay. And it was a city made up of two separate parts. The one part was built on the mainland coast, and the other half of the city was an island a very short distance away.
Got it. And just for the record, I did look it up real quick while you were going over that information. It is Tyre.
See, that makes sense since Tyrus.
I apologize, but yeah.
That sucks. Yeah. So that city that has a dumb pronunciation is what we are going to be talking about today.
Got it.
Just kind of wanted to put it in location geographically so we kind of have an idea where we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So let's get started. In the 11th month of the 12th year, on the first day of the month, guess what happened?
Ezekiel heard from God. He called him long distance. He said, hey, what's up?
Yeah, the word of the Lord came to me.
Okay.
So, but let's take a second. I know we just started.
Yeah.
And talk about that date.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
All right. So, in the 11th month of the 12th year, on the first day of the month, blah, blah, blah. This date corresponds to the year 586 or 585 BCE.
Okay.
And this was the year in which Jerusalem was taken, the 11th year of the captivity of Jeconiah, and the 11th of the reign of Zedekiah.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Sure.
Okay? So this is what the Lord said.
Okay, yeah.
Son of man.
You mere human.
You fucking worm. Because Tyre has said of Jerusalem, aha! The gate to the nations is broken and its doors have swung open to me. Now that she lies in ruins, I will prosper. So basically, Tyre is laughing that Jerusalem fell.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and
that's not a good thing to do because God will
God's a dick.
Destroy whoever laughs at
They're
Jerusalem.
They're all going to laugh at me.
The only person allowed to destroy Jerusalem is God.
Yeah. And boy, how he does.
Right.
Yeah. And so since they are a big commercial city, they're like, sweet, more spoils for us. So they're like really excited that Jerusalem has fallen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I'm against you, Tyre, and I will bring many nations against you like the sea casting up its fucking waves.
Okay. Yeah.
They will destroy the walls of Tyre and pull down her towers. I will scrape away her rubble and make her a bare rock. Boom. How about that, bitches?
Sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, he's going to knock them the fuck down.
Okay. Yep.
Out in the sea, she will become a place to spread fish nets. For I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord.
Got it.
And then he says some more. She will become plunder for the nations, and her settlements on the mainland will be ravaged by the sword. Then they'll know that I'm the Lord.
That's the violence, the killing. That's how we always know that God is the Lord, right?
Oh, look at all these dead people. God must have come through. You know how that God is.
Right? Yeah.
Fucking Yahweh. For this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Is it? Okay.
From the north, I'm going to bring against Tyre Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, king of kings, with horses and chariots, with horsemen and a great army. Damn, he called him king of kings.
Yeah. That doesn't seem like God would say that, right?
No, because that's how Jesus is referred to.
Right.
In the New Testament.
It seems way too he's given him too much, like
right?
he's that's too much of a namesake to give to somebody other than somebody that's in, God's corner.
You know that guy I hate? The total king of kings. Like, what? He will ravage your settlements on the mainland, this Nebuchadnezzar peach.
Yeah.
With the sword. The sword of the Lord. Yeah.
Definitely not space lasers.
No. That's more Marjorie Taylor Greene thinking.
Yeah.
He will set up siege works against you, build a ramp up to your walls, and raise his shields against you. He will direct the blows of his battering rams against your walls and demolish your towers with his weapons.
So I have to wonder if historically if this ever actually happened.
It actually did.
It did. Okay.
Yep.
So then the next thing that I have to wonder is, was this written before or after? And I have to believe from my own experience with the Bible thus far that it was probably written after.
The way it's described, it was like 100% after.
Right, because this sounds like a checklist of what they were fucking doing to destroy Tyre.
Yeah.
So
it's totally a checklist.
Yeah.
His horses will be so many that they will cover you with dust. Your walls will tremble at the noise of the war horses, wagons, and chariots when he enters your gates, as men enter a city whose walls have been broken through. The hooves of his horses will trample all your streets. He will kill your people with the sword, because murder is fun.
Yeah.
And your strong pillars will fall to the ground, as they do.
Sure.
All these pillars always falling everywhere.
What does it take for them to chop down a pillar with swords, I wonder? Why would they worry about that? What does that matter? Well, I guess they have the battering rams.
Yeah, I was going to say they have more than just swords.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And who fucking knows? They might even have some giants. They will plunder your wealth, and loot your merchandise.
Okay.
They will break down your walls and demolish your fine houses and throw your stones, timber, and rubble into the fucking sea. I will put an end to your noisy songs, and the music of your harps will be heard no more. Boing, boing, boing.
God is so loving and wonderful. He's such a great guy, isn't he?
Sweetie.
Like, I swear, I've just never heard a more loving piece of fucking shit.
Yeah, it's so true. I will make you a bare fucking rock, and you will become a place to spread fish nets. You will never be rebuilt, for I, the Lord, have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to Tyre.
Tyre.
Yep. Will not the coastlands tremble at the sound of your fall when the wounded groan and the slaughter takes place in you?
I don't know, will they?
Then...
Why does he always ask questions like that? It's so weird, right?
Is the sky
will you
not blue?
I don't fucking care. I don't know. You tell us. You're God. You tell us. How about you let us know?
Does a bear not shit in the woods? Then all the princes of the coast will step down from their thrones and lay aside their robes and take off their embroidered garments. Clothed with terror, they will sit on the ground, trembling every moment, appalled at you. So this is, he's saying that all the other people around Tyre are going to hear what happened, and their princes are going to be freaked the fuck out.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it, yeah.
And so they're mourning the fall of Tyre at the same time that they're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm sad for them because everybody loved Tyre.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm also scared for me. Sad,
Right.
scared, sad, scared. Okay?
Right.
Then they will take up a lament concerning you and say to you, how you are destroyed, city of renown, peopled by men of the sea.
Okay.
Chicken of the sea?
Yeah.
You were a power on the seas, you and your citizens. You put your terror on all who lived there. Now the coastlands tremble on the day of your fall. The islands in the sea are terrified at your collapse.
Okay.
This is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Again, why does he have to keep announcing that he's saying more? Like, isn't it just like implied that if he keeps talking, that he's still talking? Because
you know why?
Why?
Because he's Foghorn Leghorn.
Oh, okay.
He's the OG of I said. When I make you a desolate city, like cities no longer inhabited, which is, what desolate means.
Right.
And when I bring the ocean depths over you and its vast waters cover you, then I will bring you down with those who go down to the pit, to the people of long ago.
Okay.
So he's talking about burying them, being like the pit is when you bury your dead.
Right.
Okay. I will make you dwell in the earth below as in ancient ruins with those who go down to the pit, and you will not return or take your place in the land of the living. So there's a little bit of extra here when he's saying,
like nobody usually returns from the land of the living.
He's referring to their quote unquote souls. He's saying you're not going to have an afterlife. You're done.
Got it.
Like you do not get to level up. Like you're not just dead. You're like super dead. You're like all dead.
Got it.
Like not just quasi dead or dead adjacent.
Yeah.
You're like totes dead.
Sure. You're like Sans alive even.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
so,
you have been unalived to the max.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what he's talking about. You're like not gonna have an afterlife.
Right.
I will bring you to a horrible end and you will be no more. You will be sought, but you will never again be found, declares the Sovereign Lord. The end. Okay. I do have some notes about this chapter that I wanted to go ahead and do now because they're not Q&A worthy to wait till Saturday.
Okay.
But they are just kind of a little bit
FYIs.
FYIs, like interesting turns of phrase and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go down. Okay, I got the date, blah, blah, blah. What else did I have here?
Wife is scrolling.
Well, because I take notes for my own knowledge, but then I try to put in bold and italics anything that I actually want to say.
Sure.
On the air, which is where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So in verse 17, when it says they'll take up a lament concerning you. Yeah. And that was when the princes are going to hear that you have fallen, and they'll be sad and scared and sad and scared.
Right.
Okay. The word that they use is lament, but in other translations, they use a word kana or kanot, which is a Hebrew dirge, sad poem, or elegy. Okay. And I just thought that was kind of worth mentioning.
It's basically, essentially sort of the same thing, isn't it?
It's all the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just,
I'm saying it because if you're reading a different translation,
it might have different words.
It'll have different words. And not only that, but it might be something that we come across in a different chapter. Who fucking knows? Right. So I just wanted to put it out there that, hey, this is a thing.
And there may be people out there listening that are following along with a different version of the Bible.
Exactly.
And they see different words when we're reading this. So.
And then, like, they might not know what a dirge is. Like, you didn't always know what a dirge was.
I didn't?
You didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you. I just don't remember when I didn't know that.
Because I'm the one that told you what a dirge is. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a thing. Also, then further on in verse 21, I will bring you to a horrible end and you will be no more. Mm-hmm. In other translations, it started out, I will make you a terror.
Okay.
And then that got changed to sudden death will I bring thee.
Okay.
And then I will make thee a destruction.
Oh, okay.
And then we get it real dummied down. I will bring you to a horrible end.
Got it.
And then if you wanted to put it like in Urban Dictionary, it'd be like, you fucked. You done. So
yes, definitely.
So there we go.
Okay. Was that all the notes you got for me or for us today?
That's all the notes I got for us, you, and me today.
And all of our listeners.
Yeah,
because that's important. They're the ones, helping us be who we are.
It's true.
Yeah. Even though I gotta say this real quick because it was funny. Somebody on TikTok today was like, "You are just in your basement with 3 listeners," and I'm like, "The fuck you say? Well, you just ask our listeners. There's way more than 3. There's like 5."
I mean, clearly there's more than 5 because we're top 5%.
Yes.
We're in the top 5% of all podcasts.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I just always think it's funny when somebody tries to like bully somebody and they're wrong, like to the like nth degree and wrong.
Immensely provable.
Yeah. I pointed them. I was being kind of nice. I was like, here's where you can find out where we're not that, but okay.
Right.
You do you, man.
See, I always tell you just say thank you for your engagement.
I know.
It helps.
I really should have done that and then just dropped it. But sometimes when I'm just bored, it's hard to not
argue.
Yeah.
Feed the trolls.
It's hard not to snipe back sometimes.
Don't feed the trolls.
Don't feed the trolls. That's good advice. It's really good advice. It's really hard to follow through on, but it's really good advice.
I know this, and that's why I avoid most social media.
Right.
Because I cannot.
It is a cesspool of shittiness. That is for sure.
A cesspool of shittiness. Yeah. A morass of doo-doo.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I think that's all we got today. So that was Ezekiel chapter 26.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that we'll be back tomorrow with
Ezekiel chapter 27.
Oh, one last thing.
Oh.
You guys might have noticed today. I don't know. Maybe you didn't notice. Maybe it didn't show up. Maybe you're on a different podcasting app that it hasn't shown up yet on. But we have a new intro. And if you haven't heard it yet, it's coming down the pike. So some podcast platforms take time to update. So you might be on one that takes time to update if you didn't hear it today.
For example, Castbox doesn't usually update immediately. Like weeks. Not always.
Well, it can sometimes.
It can. Sometimes it's hours. Sometimes it's days.
Right. It just depends how Castbox is feeling that week, And
I say that as a lover of Castbox.
Yes, wife does love Castbox. So, but if you heard it, I hope you enjoyed it. I spent some time putting that together, and we may update it from time to time, but right now that's our new intro. So,
and I think it's great. So if you like it, definitely let husband know because he did put some time. I'm so impressed with it, honestly. And maybe the bar is low. Maybe I'm easily impressed, but I listen to a lot of podcasts and I think that is a very fucking cool intro.
I mean, wife, give me the thumbs up. So I'm happy.
Yep.
All right. Thanks guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you remember what happened yesterday and where the hell we are today?
Well, yesterday we read Ezekiel chapter 26.
Sure as fuck did.
In that chapter, God decided that he wanted to destroy Tyre. Sorry, Tyre. Fucking Tyre. Anyway, he was giving us a lot of imagery about barren rocks and things like that because they're like seafaring, whatever, and he's going to destroy them because God destroys things because God's a destroyer. And yeah, that was pretty much it. He doesn't like Tyre because they mocked and made fun of the Israelites or something. So
they were too uppity.
Yeah. So that was Ezekiel chapter 26.
Yes.
Actually, before we get into this, I do have one update to share real quick, and that is that we have a site on our website now that you can go to. It's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com/shop. It used to be /Amazon, but I forgot that I can't use the word Amazon in a link. So if you go to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com /shop, it will take you to a page where it has a link that you can shop at Amazon and help out our podcast. So definitely do that. Go there, bookmark that page, and use that when you go shop on Amazon for us. That would be amazing. That being said, that was Ezekiel chapter 26 we just finished yesterday, and we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 27.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, we are getting into Ezekiel chapter 27.
Or as I like to say, Ezekiel chapter 27.
That's not what you like to say.
It's what I'm going to say. It's what I did say, and I shall keep saying it. So, yeah.
Even though Ezekiel is more fun.
Definitely more fun, for sure.
All right. And this chapter is a continuation of the last.
Okay.
So we're going to keep on talking about that city of Tyre.
Yeah. Okay.
And guess what happened right at the beginning?
Let's see. God is going to call Daffy Duck.
No.
No?
He's going to talk to Ezekiel.
Oh, well, I guess I should have guessed that one instead, probably. That was more likely. It's not likely in the sense that it actually happened, but likely as far as the book says, anyway.
Yes.
But anyway.
The word of the Lord.
The word of the Lord.
Came to me.
It did?
As it does.
Okay.
Me, Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Not me, wife.
Right.
Son of man.
Yeah, mere human.
You fucking worm. Take up a lament concerning Tyre. So now we're going to
be sad about them because we're going to be like, oh, God destroyed them, and now we should be sad for them, maybe.
Right.
Sort of.
Those fuckers.
But it was still justified, apparently.
Right.
Because they laughed at us.
Yeah. They're all going to laugh at you. Say to Tyre, situated at the gateway of the sea, merchant of peoples on many coasts, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Oh, okay.
You say, Tyre, I am perfect in beauty. Your domain was in the high seas. Your builders brought your beauty to perfection. They made all your timbers of juniper from Sinir. They took a cedar from Lebanon to make a mast for you. Of oaks from Bashan they made your oars. Of cypress wood from the coasts of Cyprus they made your deck, adorned with ivy. Fine embroidered linen from Egypt was your sail and served as your banner. Your awnings were of blue and purple from the coasts of Elisha. Men of Sidon and Arvad were your oarsmen. Your skilled men, Tyre, were aboard as your sailors.
I'm having trouble finding anything to say here. This is just like a description of how wonderful and great they were.
He's comparing them to a ship.
Yeah.
Because
they were seafarers.
Because they were seafarers.
Right.
And just a quick addition here where he says your domain was the seas and your city was situated at the gateway to the sea.
Yeah.
In the original text, gateway was plural, gateways to the sea.
All right.
And that's because it probably had more than one harbor, one facing north and one facing south.
Got it.
So they were a big deal.
Yeah.
When they earlier chapters, when we were talking about the people of the islands.
Yeah. These were them.
Not just these were them, these were the top of them.
Got it.
These were the big ends.
The Tyres, the Tyrians, they were the top dogs as far as seafaring and all that.
It's funny to hear you say Tyrion because that's like Game of Thrones. And yeah. So yeah, Tyrus.
Okay.
Tyre. And yeah, they were top dog, like you said.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Alongside trade for your wares, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was scrolling. I have to find where I'm at.
Yeah,
now.
no, I know. Wife lost her place.
I did. Always. Okay. Veteran craftsmen of Byblos were on board as shipwrights to caulk your seams. All the ships of the sea and their sailors came alongside to trade for your wares. Men of Persia, Lydia, and Put served as soldiers in your army. They hung their shields and helmets on your walls, bringing you splendor. Men of Arvad and Helek guarded your walls on every side. Men of Gamad were in your towers. They hung their shields around your walls. They brought your beauty to perfection. Tarshish did business with you because of your great wealth of goods. They exchanged silver, iron, tin, and lead for your merchandise.
This is, I mean, normally you don't have to do this much reading.
I know.
I'm sorry, like in one shot, I mean. But I'm struggling here.
I mean, basically,
there's nothing to really interrupt and interject about. So
basically, every sentence is like, you were awesome to these people. You were awesome to those people. All of them people.
I feel like it's going to end though with like, and now you're destroyed, and we're sorry, and you're sad, and we're sad that our God destroyed you.
Yeah.
Because he sucks.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Exactly. Greece, Tubal, and Meshech did business with you. They traded human beings and articles of bronze for your wares.
Oh, so there's some slavery happening.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. They were master slavers. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I noticed that God's not commenting as though that's a bad thing there.
Right. He's just saying, this is where people bought slaves because, you were the people that brought them in.
Right.
And that's not bad because you also brought other things.
No, I mean, we're in the midst of a, like, showing all of their wonderfulness and all the amazing things that they did.
Part of which includes
slavery, right?
Yeah. Love me some slavery, right?
Right,
oh,
yeah.
Gross. Men of Beth Togarmah.
Yeah, that place, mm-hmm.
They exchanged chariot horses, cavalry horses, and mules for your business, but none that talked.
I wonder if they got the mule semen in there.
Oh, my God. The men of Rhodes traded with you, and many coastlands were your customers. They paid you with ivory tusks and ebony.
Yeah.
I was trying to say emery, and I don't know why. No, ebony.
Ebony.
Yeah. Aram did business with you because of your products. They exchanged turquoise, purple fabric, embroidered work, fine linen, coral, and rubies for your merchandise. Oh,
sounds like they were quite the hub.
They were a big hub, yeah. Mm-hmm. Judah and Israel traded with you. They exchanged wheat from Minnith and confections, honey, olive oil, and balm for your wares.
Okay.
Damascus did business with you because of your many products and great wealth of goods. They offered wine from Helbon, wool from Zahar, and casks of wine from Izal in exchange for your wares.
I feel like I would have loved to have seen this ancient city of Tyre.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Tyrus.
But yeah, I would. It seems like it's a very bustling, ancient world city type thing.
Yeah.
And it sounds, I mean, other than like the slavery and shit, it sounds kind of like it would be interesting to visit if you had a time machine, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I would have loved to see this place in action.
Right.
Wrought iron, cassia, and calamus. Dedan traded in saddle blankets with you. Arabia and all the princes of Kedar were your customers. They did business with you in lambs, rams, and goats. And
rams, and goats, huh?
A fox in a box with socks. The merchants of Sheba and Raamah traded with you. For your merchandise, they exchanged the finest of all kinds of spices and precious stones and gold.
Okay.
Haran, Canaan, and Eden, and merchants of Sheba, Esher, and Kilmad traded with you. There was a place called Eden?
Apparently, yeah.
I need to know more about that.
I mean, that...
Did they have a garden?
Maybe it was... I mean, it's a lot like we take names now, right? Like when the, pilgrims came over and we set up this new world over here in the United States, we named a lot of things after the old world, right?
Yeah.
So, like, we just stole those names. We're like, those are ours now. We're going to put them over here.
You had York, we have New
Right. So, I mean,
York.
I'm sure the idea of Eden and Eden of the Bible were an idea that was around, at least. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. In your marketplace, they traded with you beautiful garments, blue fabric, embroidered work, and multicolored rugs with cords twisted and tightly knotted. The ships of Tarshish served as carriers for your wares. You are filled with heavy cargo as you sail the sea.
Okay.
Your oarsmen take you out to the high seas, but the east wind will break you to pieces far out at sea. Your wealth, merchandise, and wares, your mariners, sailors, and shipwrights, your merchants, and all your soldiers, and everyone else on board will sink into the heart of the sea on the day of your shipwreck.
There we go. There's the horribleness.
Yeah. The shorelands will quake when your sailors cry out, "Ah!" All who handle the oars will abandon their ships. The mariners and all the sailors will stand on the shore.
Okay.
They will raise their voice and cry bitterly over you. They will sprinkle dust on their heads and roll in the ashes.
I see.
They will shave their heads because of you and will put on sackcloth.
Well, it sounds like they're very well revered, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
they're crying.
very sad about
they're like, fuck me. This place is gone. Wah.
Right. Yeah.
They will weep over you with anguish of soul and with bitter mourning. As they wail and mourn over you, they will take up a lament concerning you. Who was ever silenced like Tyre, surrounded by the sea? With your merchandise, when your merchandise went out onto the seas, you satisfied many nations. With your great wealth and your wares, you enriched the kings of the earth. Now you are shattered by the sea in the depths of the waters. Your wares and all your company have gone down with you. This is actually kind of a really neat literary device.
Yeah.
To take what they're renowned for and then turn it into an example of like representing, like taking what they're renowned for and using that as, you know, you are famous for ships, and so I'm going to call you a ship, and I'm going to refer to your downfall as the sinking of that ship.
Right, yeah.
I'm really impressed with this, actually.
Yeah. I mean, for the Bible, it's not horrible.
Trying to give due its due.
Yeah,
okay?
for sure.
Because I'm the first to complain when this shit sucks, such as with the slavery.
Yeah.
You know, the sale of humans.
Yes.
But overall, I'm really enjoying the literary symbolism here.
Yeah. That's very cool.
All who live in the coastlands are appalled at you. Their kings shudder with horror, and their faces are distorted with fear. The merchants among the nations scoff at you. You have come to a horrible end and will be no more. The end.
Okay.
Now, when they say that they're appalled at you, I don't think that's the correct use of that term.
No,
they're not going to mourn
they'd be
you.
more, if they were appalled at anything, they'd be appalled at what the Babylonians did to them or whatever.
Or
right?
God.
Or God. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, God. My bad.
Whoever destroyed them, they would be appalled at that, not appalled at this great seaport that they're like, this seaport is awesome. Oh, I'm so appalled at them.
Yeah.
No, they're appalled at the destruction.
I guess you could be appalled if it was like literally horrific to look at. Like that's appalling to even look at.
Right. But again, that's appalled at the destruction.
Right.
And that's not
fair enough.
What it said. It's saying they're appalled at you.
Right.
The city.
Right.
No, they revere the city. They're appalled at the city's destruction.
Right.
And their kings shudder with horror and their faces are distorted with fear. Yeah.
Right.
They're like, oh, fuck me.
And I can see why they're fearful. Like, I mean, you know, it's apparent. And we all know I'm pretty sure this is Babylon. Actually, I think they said it in the last chapter that it was Babylon doing this, right?
Yeah.
And that's the sword of the Lord, right? That's coming down on these people and Israel and all this shit.
Right. Where it says the merchants among the nations scoff at you.
Yeah.
I don't think they're scoffing.
No.
They can't both be scared and be like, you stupid idiots.
Right. And maybe some of them are scoffing, some of them are scared. It kind of depends on who you are. Maybe if you're one of the people that are in cahoots with Babylon, maybe you are scoffing. And if you're not in cahoots, you're like, fuck, they're going to kill me too.
Okay, but they just spent an entire chapter's worth describing how awesome this place is.
Yeah.
And then they're like, everybody loves you and trades with you. Everybody comes through your ports. And now some of them scoff at you. No, that doesn't read correct.
That's true.
That's not what happened. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's not, like, stick in a lane. Right now we're talking about how awesome this place was, and we're lamenting it having fallen.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the whole chapter is about.
Yep.
So they picked the wrong words in this translation. They're not appalled or scoffing. They're maybe appalled at the destruction and appalled at the destructors.
Yeah.
And if they're scoffing, they are scoffing at, I can't imagine what they'd be scoffing at, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. So, I don't know.
But
the God likes to say that once he destroys something, people are going to laugh and scoff at them. Like that's a thing that the Bible, that Ezekiel.
People that no longer should be embarrassed or that no longer survive should be embarrassed.
And keep in mind too that looking small or looking weak in front of your enemy or your neighbors in this time frame was a big deal. That made people want to not be that, right? Like that was a motivator. I don't want to look this way. Even God, according to the Bible, doesn't want to be embarrassed by in front of his neighbors, right?
Right.
So like it's a thing that even God in the Bible is supposedly fearful of doing.
I hear that, but again, you no longer exist. You're all dead. You should be so embarrassed, you people that aren't alive.
Well,
What?
and we don't know what the mindset was back then. Maybe they looked at death as embarrassing. Maybe the fact that you got conquered was embarrassing. Maybe that was something worthy of derision. I don't really know what the mindset was of these people in the ancient times. And I don't know. I mean, they were very tied up in a lot of things that were very manly. So
that's true.
And that is one of those things, like, to show your weakness in front of people would maybe be the maybe show it would cause derision, So
it's just that where it says their kings shudder with horror and their faces are distorted with fear. I believe that.
Sure.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Where the next sentence says the merchants among the nations scoff at you. I don't believe that.
Right. I don't believe it either, but I think the wording is used because of how it is taken by people in that time.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Fair?
I guess. I still think that it's shitty writing.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it generally is in this book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I liked the symbolism and what's that called? Not a metaphor. Yeah, it's a metaphor.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're the writer, so I bow to you.
It's a metaphor. I like the metaphor of the seafaring city as a ship.
Sure.
That's great.
Yep. All right. Well, that was Ezekiel chapter 27.
Yes, it was.
Which means that we will be back tomorrow with
Ezekiel chapter 28.
And just a quick housekeeping note here. We are doing our live. If you get this the day that it comes out, we'll be doing it shortly probably because we're doing it tonight, Tuesday at 10 o'clock p.m. on Discord. The link will be in the show notes. But we also are not doing our live tomorrow on Wednesday on YouTube and Twitch and all that because we have other obligations this week. And we apologize for the screwed up live schedule this week, but things just didn't go as planned yesterday and today and tomorrow we already had plans. So that's the way it goes.
Got some family stuff we got to do.
Yep. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you remember what happened yesterday and where the hell we are today?
Well, yesterday we read Ezekiel chapter 27.
Sure as fuck did.
And in that chapter, God was it God or somebody was lamenting Ezekiel? I'm not sure who it was. I think it was God, though.
They were quoting the other people in the other cities, the other kings.
Got it. Well, anyway, they were lamenting the destruction of Tyre. Tyre. I always screw that up.
I know.
I want to say Tyre so bad.
So do I, but it's
just
Tyrus.
not. It's Tyre. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were talking about how Tyre is a ship and how all these things are parts of the ship, and then God's going to sink the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, I think.
And then
all
everybody was scared and also like, damn.
Yes. I just realized I had the setting wrong on the mic. So if you guys heard a click, that's what it was.
Click, click. My mic sounds nice.
So anyway, that was Ezekiel chapter 27.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that today we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 28.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, we are hopping into Ezekiel chapter 28.
Or as I like to call it, Ezekiel chapter 28.
Big E, here we go.
All right.
The word of the Lord, guess what it did?
It came to him.
It came to me.
It
That's
did,
right,
yeah.
me being Ezekiel.
Right, yeah.
Son of man.
You mere human.
You fucking worm. Say to the ruler of Tyre, this is what the sovereign Lord says. In the pride of your heart, you say, I'm a god. I sit on the throne of a god in the heart of the seas. Ooh, that's highfalutin.
Yeah.
You can't talk like that when Yahweh's about.
Well,
you don't want Yahweh
again,
to hear that.
This guy Ezekiel is going to come to him and tell him, "Hey, there's this other god that I hear, and you can't.
Yeah.
And you can't act like you're a god on that seat there that you."
I mean, to be fair, you're only human, so you shouldn't anyways. But,
right.
But also on top of that, my secret little sky daddy, he's going to get pissed.
I mean, I would just think the person's crazy if they told me that. You
right?
know, like, what is wrong with you, man?
Yeah. But you are a mere mortal and not a god, though you think you are as wise as a god.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would wager that I might be wiser than God.
I'm not going to argue with a king, though. How about that?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, if it's a nice king and they're willing to argue with you.
Okay, that's not an argument. That's a debate.
Oh, okay. All right.
A debate is where you can argue without getting in trouble.
Sure.
And also there's less personal anger involved.
Okay.
It might get heated, but it doesn't get like, you son of a bitch.
I honestly don't think that Ezekiel ever went and talked to the king of Tyre.
I don't either.
I mean, this just sounds kind of ridiculous. Like, I just think they want to pretend like it happened, and they're like, this is what Ezekiel would have said. So
they're doing like what's her name? The lady that shot her dog.
Oh, the
Gnome, Christy Gnome.
Yeah, Christy Gnome. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I totally met Kim Jong
Kim Jong Un.
Thank you. I couldn't
is it
say
Un or I can't remember which one it is.
Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And they were like, "Did you though?" And she was like, "I'll speak to my editor." Like, oh, so then you didn't.
Right. Yeah.
That's what Ezekiel's like. I totally talked to the king of Tyre. Prove I didn't.
Well, how did that pass a fucking editor though? Like seriously though, it passed the editor because she told him to put it through regardless.
Yeah.
Like, did this actually happen? And she was like, yeah, it absolutely did.
Yeah. From what I understand, off the record, there are several people being like, we totally told her to take it out and she wouldn't listen.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure.
Anyways.
But what's the incentive in this day and age, right? Yeah. Because Trump can say whatever the fuck he wants and gets away with it. And most of the Republicans can say whatever the fuck they want and get away with it. Because generally, their news sources that their people listen to will just back them up.
Oh, I was listening to somebody that made a good point. Every year or two, they will totally turn on one of their own to throw as like a sacrifice to the gods. And remember, like a couple years ago, it was Madison Cawthorn, right? When he was like, they totally have, orgies and cocaine parties.
Well, I felt like he was touching on something that would have threatened the rest of them at some level.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, get this fucker out of here.
Yeah, but it's true though. Like they totally just run the bus over one of them, and they're like, here, you can have this one, and now we can pretend, look, we totally have our norms. We don't shoot dogs, we don't have orgies, we're great. Like, the bar is so fucking low. And not that I'm against having orgies if that's your fucking thing, whatever.
Sure,
I'm not into it, but you do you consensually.
Right. Yes.
So anyway, God is still talking. Okay. He's like, or he's telling Ezekiel to say to King Tyre,
right, yeah.
Are you wiser than Daniel, whoever the fuck that is that we haven't met yet, but we're going to eventually, I think?
Is that a prophet? Is it going to be a prophet?
I think so.
Okay, all right.
I think so. Some dude.
Sure.
I don't know. This dude named Daniel, are you wiser than him? Ooh. Is no secret hidden from you? By your wisdom and understanding, you have gained wealth for yourself and amassed gold and silver in your treasuries.
I mean, by the way they describe Tyre, they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah.
I guess if I was king of Tyre and that was my place, I'd feel pretty good about myself for what I had created,
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like capitalism's working fine for him.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right.
By your great skill in trading, capitalism, you have increased your wealth. And because of your wealth, your heart has grown proud. I mean,
and can you blame him though? Like, no. I mean, I'm just saying, it's why wouldn't you?
When I am good at something, my heart also grows proud.
Yeah, and I think like that's part of self-confidence, right?
Now,
why shouldn't you be proud of something that you're accomplishing?
I don't go around saying I'm a god.
No,
I don't think
but we're
that I'm
also
better
taking
than others.
Ezekiel/God's word for this in the book,
right?
And
that he's
we don't know
swaggering SOB,
right? We don't actually know that that's what he was. Maybe they just consider the fact that he has any.
Success?
Any success, and he doesn't give that success up to God.
Therefore, he's a swaggering son of a bitch.
Yeah. That could be the whole reason they said that.
When really, like, think about this. Everybody comes to this port and trades, right? So it's already been established as an excellent hub, right? Everybody knows they're getting a fair deal or whatever, and from all over the world as they know it, right? So it's a good place to go, and they're getting introduced to other people. For all we know, it's actually like a really nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, you're not doing Judaism, so you fucking suck.
No, we talked about it in the last episode. If it wasn't for like the slavery happening, that apparently was being traded in that city as well.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
It sounds like it would be kind of an interesting hub in the ancient world to go visit. Like there was a lot of shit going through that port apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about the slavery. That is
but
much less impressive.
That's happened in recent history, even here in the United States. So, I mean...
Gross.
I'm not excusing it. There is no excuse for slavery, but it was something that was part of our past. And and past and past and past. So I mean, it's
right. Let's not pretend it's not there.
Right.
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Okay.
Because you think you are wise as a god, I am going to bring foreigners against you, the most ruthless of nations. They will draw their swords against your beauty and wisdom and pierce your shining splendor. I mean, he's basically saying, how dare you be pretty and successful? Fuck you for that.
But we were proud of Solomon being wise. Wise was a very good thing when Solomon was that.
Yeah.
So why do we have a problem with this guy? It's strictly, I think, because he does not worship Yahweh.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it is. It has nothing to do with how wise he actually is or how successful he actually is.
It says beauty and wisdom. So it's like, yeah, they're successful, beautiful, and wise.
Right. This all comes down to the jealousy that God has. In the Bible, this all comes down to the jealousy that God has with regard to how these people get treated, right?
Yeah.
So if they do not worship Yahweh, then Yahweh is going to kill them.
Yep.
Period.
Like, if we can't have your port, then no one can. Fuck it.
Right.
Is what the people are saying.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
All right. So they will draw their swords against your beauty and wisdom and pierce your shining splendor. They will bring you down to the pit, and you will die a violent death in the heart of the seas. Will you then say, I'm a god, in the presence of those who kill you? Listen, I have to tell you something. If someone asks if you're a god,
you're supposed to say yes.
You say yes.
Right, but not if somebody's going to... I mean...
That's from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay. But, generally, I think you're not going to exclaim that you're a god in front of someone who's going to kill you.
I'm a god, bitches. I'm a god.
That's not how that works. No.
I got a sword against your throat. You going to say you're a god now? Absolutely not, sir.
Right? Yeah.
You are pretty and smart. Please remove your sword. I will suck your dick. Thank you for not killing me. Have a nice day. You will be but a mortal, not a god, in the hands of those who slay you. Well, no shit, dipstick.
Yeah.
You will die the death of the uncircumcised at the hands of foreigners.
I can't help but think about how God worries about what his neighbors think. So, like, this guy's concerned that this guy is not going to call himself a god or be proud in the moment of his death that he is this great, great thing, right?
And then he's worried about his dick.
But he's also worried about what his neighbors think. Like, this God, this supposed God, thinks that he has to worry about what the neighbors think, but he's mad at you for not worshiping him and also kind of being condescending to you because you won't hold that same image up at the time of death.
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
You have said you worry about what your neighbors think with regard to how you act.
You're a childish...
And you claim to be a god too, so fuck off, Yahweh.
It's true. It's true. Fuck off, Yahweh.
Yeah.
I'm just still caught up in the, you will die the death of the uncircumcised. I'm like, hold on. We're talking about, you're about to kill him and you're worried about his dick?
Yeah.
Why are we talking about people's dicks all the time?
I mean, to be fair, what was that story from early on when it was one of the people from this other clan raped a girl there was one clan that raped a girl from another clan.
And all
of her brothers came. Yeah. It was Delilah. Was it Delilah?
Yeah, maybe? I think so.
And then all of her brothers came, and they had them all get circumcised, and then they killed them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like I would have rather died uncircumcised than do all that shit.
Yeah.
That was fucked up. I don't blame the brothers. Like, I get it, kind of.
They raped her sister.
Yeah, and then... right. I mean, I don't know about murder, but still, like. They kind of had some of that coming, at least not the murder, but just
you can
bad
be
shit.
Anti-murder and still know yourself. If somebody touches one of your loved ones, you might go on a murderous rage against them.
Right? Yeah.
Those are two separate things because murder willy-nilly, like punishing somebody over there, like that's for a third party to decide. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like. That's why we don't allow vengeance.
I think oftentimes, when somebody does something like that, especially in the modern times, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody did something to someone you love and then you went out and you got them back in the worst way possible, then you know what the consequences could be. Right. And you've already accepted that possibility.
Right.
So I'm
going down for murder.
Yeah,
got it.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like that might
be worth it.
I think, to some people.
Yeah.
So I don't want to judge, because that is, there's some horrible shit that other people do, and they definitely are bad people. So
I mean, let's say that something happened to Kid, right?
Right.
I don't know that either one of us could be held back.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I'd have a hard
It's
time.
definitely a hard place to put yourself in a personal situation.
Yeah.
It's always easier to judge from afar. But when it affects you personally, that's a lot different. So
I want to be a person who says I don't seek vengeance, but I know for a fact if you touched my kid, I would come after you.
Right.
I'm not proud of that, but I'm not also embarrassed or ashamed of it either. It just is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, God says you'll die the death of the uncircumcised at the hands of foreigners. I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord.
Have you?
Yeah, and guess what happens next?
Actually, he didn't. Ezekiel spoke because you talked to him.
I know.
So,
but guess what happened next?
I don't know what.
The word of the Lord came to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Son of man.
Yeah, mere human.
You fucking worm. Take up a lament concerning the king of Tyre and say to him, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
We just lamented the city.
We lamented the city. Now we're lamenting the king.
Okay. All right.
You were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty.
Wow.
You were in Eden, the garden of God.
Wow.
Every precious stone adorned you. Carnelian, chrysolite, and emerald, topaz, onyx, and jasper, lapis lazuli, turquoise, and beryl. Your settings and mountings were made of gold. On the day you were created, they were prepared. You were anointed as a guardian cherub, for so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God.
Hold on. That God ordained this king of Tyre?
Sure, why not?
I don't even, is he supposed to be Jewish? I don't really understand what's going on here. I
have no
I know that
idea.
they started stretching their influence a little bit, but I didn't feel like it stretched to the port cities. And I don't know. I don't feel like this is correct exactly.
I have no idea.
Why is he claiming ownership of this person when it doesn't sound like this guy even hardly knows who God is?
Right. He doesn't sound like a fan of Yahweh, or even maybe he knows who the fuck Yahweh is. Right. If he's walking around going, my city's awesome, I'm a god.
He obviously doesn't care at the very least.
Right.
So I don't know.
God's saying, you walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you. Through your widespread trade, you were filled with violence and you sinned.
Okay.
Your worldwide trade is what did it, huh?
I don't know.
You're not supposed to spread out? Because it seems to me that the Israelites are spreading the fuck out and conquering and trying to...
Sometimes, yeah. Not right now. They're getting conquered at the moment.
Well, sure. But I'm just saying, it just depends on who you are at any given moment as to whether you're supposed to be spreading out and conquering other lands.
It really depends on who's doing the conquering at any given point, and that's who God's gonna back at that point. Because right now, God is backing Babylon. He's like, yeah, they're my tool, but he's also gonna kill them later because that tool worked against his people. So it's just a convenient way to phrase the happenings of history.
Yeah, I'm annoyed that this guy is literally in trouble for being successful.
Yeah.
That seems incorrect. If we're going to hate him, I would like to know that he did some really bad shit. Not just that, he ran a good hub.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. He sold slaves. He sold living human beings.
Yeah, I'm sure he was not a great person.
Yeah. But that is not what God's pissed about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if it was, I would be like, yeah, get him. Good for you. Get him.
Sure.
But
at least that's a worthy.
That makes sense, right?
Cause,
but that's not what it is. He's just like, you successful SOB. I hate how good you are at your job.
Stop being arrogant and calling yourself a god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I drove you in disgrace from the mount of God, and I expelled you, guardian cherub, from among the fiery stones. Your heart. I mean, it sounds like God loves this guy more than he loved Solomon and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
What are the fiery stones? Do you have any notes on that? Or is that, I'm just curious, he keeps saying fiery stones.
I don't know.
Okay. I was just curious.
I have no idea. I'll see if I can find anything for Q&A.
Yeah.
Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. So I threw you to the earth. Boom! I made a spectacle of you before kings. Nah. By your many sins and dishonest trade, you have desecrated your sanctuaries. So I made a fire come out from you, and it consumed you. And I reduced you to ashes on the ground in the sight of all who were watching. All the nations who knew you are appalled at you. You have come to a horrible end and will be no more.
Okay. Was that the end?
No, that's the end of that section. Okay. So I wanted to give it like a decent, like...
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. So remember how I said that there was a prophecy against Tyre that lasted for a couple chapters?
Yes.
And it started in like 24, I think, or some shit like that?
Right.
So it's done now?
Okay.
Okay, but or maybe it was chapter 26. I don't remember. Anyways, it went on for a few chapters. Now we're done talking about Tyre. Okay.
All right.
So we're moving on to a new section.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
So guess what?
What?
The word of the Lord came to me.
Did it?
It did. Again.
Okay.
Some more.
Got it.
Son of man.
You mere human.
You fucking worm. Set your face against Sidon. Prophecy against her and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I'm against you, Sidon.
So who the fuck is Sidon?
I don't know. Sidon. It might be Sidon.
Have we even talked about them before?
I don't fucking know.
It doesn't feel like we have.
This is some city.
Okay.
You don't like.
Sure.
And among you, I will display my glory. You will know that I'm the
display
Lord.
Your glory, man. No one wants to see that shit.
Everybody loves his glory. Look at that glory. Yum, yum. You will know that I'm the Lord when I inflict punishment on you and within you and prove to be holy. Every time you're in me, I don't think you're holy. That is not a thing that happens.
No.
I will send a plague upon you. Whoa! And make blood flow in your streets. Whoa!
Yeah, this is getting, like normal, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know why I just reacted that way. He's sending another plague. Holy shit. Okay. The slain will fall within you, the sword against you on every side. Then you will know
that my name is the Lord.
That I am the Lord.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Yep.
No longer will the people of Israel have malicious neighbors who are painful briars and sharp thorns. Yeah, that.
Wait, no longer will who have painful? Who? Israel?
No longer will the people of Israel have these malicious neighbors who are painful briars and sharp stones.
Wait.
Or thorns.
We're talking. Israel is going into exile as well.
Yeah.
They've been conquered as well.
Yeah.
They don't have neighbors because they're conquered. What the fuck? Like, you laid waste to fucking Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here talking about worrying about their neighbors.
Well, sometimes you have to take your dog out to a gravel pit and you have to shoot it, right? And then you're in the mood to shoot other animals while you're at it. So then you go get that billy goat that's been bugging you all these last few days.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, fuck it. And you take that billy goat out to the same gravel pit and you shoot it too.
Hashtag true stories for, what was her name again? Christy Nome.
Yeah. So clearly she got that from this portion of the Bible where God was just like, I'm in a killing mood. I got my gun loaded. I shot that dog. I mean, that Israel.
Right.
And now I'm going to shoot this goat called Sidon.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they will know that I am the sovereign Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says.
Yeah.
When I gather the people of Israel from the nations where they've been scattered, I will be proved holy through them in the sight of the nations. Da, 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 da.
So this is all about the homecoming. Like,
yeah.
He's going to kill everybody, including his people. And then he's going to scatter some of his people, but they're all going to come back. And when they come back, because they're going to be so holy and wonderful at that point, because God will have changed their hearts and made them these most wonderful people who are probably so holy that you just can't even see straight. You probably should see straight, though, because you got to stay on that straight path. But that's when they're going to know that his name is the Lord.
Yeah.
That's when they're going to know that he is God.
Yep. They won't know until then.
That's the time. That's the one.
Yep. Then they will live in their own land, which I gave to my servant Jacob. They will live there in safety and will build houses and plant vineyards, and all their Lego sets will go together, and they'll have the one that you can't find anymore except on eBay. And it's going to be so groovy. It's going to be holy and nice. They will live in safety when I inflict punishment on all their neighbors who maligned them.
Yeah.
And there's going to be Barbies and Cabbage Patch dolls. And there's going to be no clothes are too big. All of your pants fit just right. And you can just always have enough water, but also Dr. Pepper, because why not? And chocolate for everybody. And the streets are filled with cheese. Oh, there are no cats in America. Oh, sorry. I got carried away there, didn't I?
A little bit. Yeah.
Then they will know that I am the Lord their God. The end.
Okay. It occurs to me that if he's going to kill all the neighbors, who's going to be there to see that?
Nobody.
Okay. Yeah.
Fuck neighbors. We don't need neighbors.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if he wants people to know that he is the Lord, who's going to be left to know that he is the Lord other than
his own people? That's all he needs.
Okay.
And they will know.
But he seems to care an awful lot about what other people think, even though he's going to kill them all.
Well,
so it's really weird to me.
It's almost like this shit don't make no sense, and that it just is very topsy-turvy.
Yeah.
And what's that word where sometimes it says one thing, but then it contradicts itself and says something else?
I'm not going to be able to come up with it in a timely manner here because I don't know what you're talking about exactly.
Well, I said it. It's contradictions.
Oh.
It's
okay.
It's God's always wrong.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. So was that all we got for today then?
That's all we got, and it was more than a fucking enough.
All right. Well, that was Ezekiel chapter 28.
Sure as fuck was.
Yes.
Husband.
Yeah. And so we will be back tomorrow. We're not doing a live tomorrow, guys. Just a reminder, we're not doing a live.
Sorry.
And we might be changing some schedules with lives in the future, but we will be back tomorrow with
Ezekiel chapter 29.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you remember where we were yesterday and where we are today?
Well, yesterday we read Ezekiel chapter 28, and in that chapter, God was rebuking the leader of Tyre.
The leader of the Tyre.
Yeah. He was apparently too arrogant about his wonderful city that God went on about in length about how wonderful it was.
Right.
And he thought too much of himself, so because it was wonderful and he went on about how wonderful it was, God's going to kill him.
Yes.
Or make him suffer or do something really bad and sink his ship and all kinds of crap.
This is why we can't have good things.
Right. Yeah, apparently it was like some comment on pride or something, which, okay, I guess. But you know what? The longer I live, the more I am in this world, to the extent that it doesn't affect other people, I feel like it's a good thing to have pride.
Yeah.
Pride is a good thing. You should be prideful.
I take pride in my successes,
right,
and I take responsibility for my faults.
Yeah. Now, if you have pride to the extent that it's harmful to other people, that's a different story, I guess.
That's not pride, that's arrogance.
Right.
And shittiness and assholeriness.
Yeah. So but pride is one of those things that is like not good in the Bible, I think. Because if you're prideful, you're not allowing for God, right? You're not humble before God. You're supposed to be humble.
Yeah, you're supposed to like be a piece of shit and talk about how much you suck and how, you are a sinner from birth and from time memorial before you.
Right.
And nothing you can ever do is good, and kiss the ring and bend the knee and suck God's big old horse wiener thing. Yeah.
So before we get into today's episode, I do want to cover one thing that I've been throwing out, and I have changed it up. So if you head to our website, which is sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, and then do a /shop, you can help us out by shopping on Amazon through that link. And any of your purchases will give us a little bit of a kickback from those if you do that for us. So definitely go to that page, bookmark it, use that when you shop on Amazon. We would definitely appreciate it. That being said, what we just got done reading yesterday was Ezekiel chapter 28.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that today we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 29.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, Ezekiel, or Ezekiel, as I like to say.
You took away my bit.
I did. Chapter 29.
All right.
We're going to yell at Egypt, and we're going to start out with a date, and so then I will immediately jump over to my notes to tell you what that date means.
Got it. Okay.
And I just wanted to give you that heads up, because it's before we even complete the first sentence.
Okay.
Which I hate.
Sure.
All right, ready?
I'm ready.
In the 10th year, in the 10th month, on the 12th day, the word of the Lord came to me.
Okay. All right,
Good stuff.
Yep.
All right. So in the 10th year, 10th month, 12th day, corresponds to about January 7th, 587 BCE.
Okay.
Okay. And that was the 10th year of Zedekiah.
Sure.
All right. So anyway, on that fucking day, the word of the Lord came, and guess what he said?
I don't know. What did he say?
Son of man.
Yeah, mere human. Yes.
You fucking worm. Set your face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And prophecy against him and against all of Egypt.
This is like a better version of the ending of Jeremiah.
Yes.
You know?
I was thinking the same thing.
Like in Jeremiah, they were like, we're going to just real quick trash all these other groups.
Yeah.
You know, but Ezekiel's like, no, we're going to go in detail about it. We're going to talk about them and like do this for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's sit down with Dr. Phil and do an interview. And I'm like, but do you really want to go up against Egypt? Don't you remember? That's where you fucking came from.
Yeah.
You know, supposedly.
Well, I mean, I don't think that they ever got conquered. So like, I mean, this prophecy, whatever this is coming, probably is not correct. To some extent.
I'm not sure. Let's talk about it.
All right. I'm just saying.
Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah.
Okay. So turn your face to Egypt and bitch about him.
Sure.
Speak to him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Okay.
I says, I'm against you, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, you great monster lying among your streams.
Wow.
You say, the Nile belongs to me. I made it for myself.
Okay.
But I will put hooks in your jaws and make the fish of your streams stick to your fucking scales.
Okay.
I will pull you out from among your streams with all the fish sticking to your scales. Ew.
Sticking to your scales. Like you weigh it on the scale and they'll stick to it and then that causes a problem, I guess, or something?
I think he's going to be referring to him as a crocodile, but I'm not there yet. Okay. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it means like the scales of a fish.
All right.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I will leave you in the desert, you and all the fish of your streams. You will fall on the open field and not be gathered or picked up. I will give you as food to the beasts of the earth and the birds of the sky. Then all who live in Egypt will know
that he is the Lord.
That I am the Lord.
Yeah,
you got it. You have been a staff of reed for the people of Israel. When they grasped you with their hands, you splintered and you tore open their shoulders. When they leaned on you, you broke and their backs were wrenched.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm so mad at you, Egypt. You stick.
So far, I haven't heard him say he's going to destroy them, though. Which is interesting because, you know, Egypt is very large.
Right.
And so it's interesting that he's not like everybody else that he hates. He's like, I'm going to destroy you, right?
Well, I mean, he bitched at him for a minute before he got there. So
that's true. Maybe he's still going to do that. Yeah, I don't know.
We've got some chapter left. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Okay.
I will bring a sword against you and kill both man and beast.
Okay, here it is. Here it is. Okay.
Egypt will become a desolate wasteland. Then they will know
that he's the Lord?
That I'm the Lord.
But again, I just have to say this because we did some research back during Jeremiah that showed that, yes, there was a problem. Like one of the kings got dethroned or something like that. Yeah. But Egypt never got conquered, never got taken over.
No.
Nothing like that happened.
Certainly didn't get wiped off the map since they're,
Yeah, they're still there.
To this very day, right?
Yeah. I'm sure that there's apologists out there that are like, Well, they were referring to the king, of course, or it hasn't happened yet. Yeah,
it's yet to come. Yeah.
It's just whatever is most convenient in any discussion you're having.
Sure. Yeah. Because you said the Nile is mine, I made it. Therefore, I'm against you and against your streams, and I will make the land of Egypt a ruin and a desolate waste from Migdol to Aswan as far as the border of Cush. I got a note about those locations.
Okay. Yeah.
So the word Migdol means tower.
Okay.
And it could be like a raised part in the river, or it could be like a huge tower, actually.
Okay.
And so when he's saying from Migdol to Aswan, he's saying two different cities. Cush being the third one that he mentioned.
Yeah.
Those three cities are the ones where the Jewish people were resettled in Egypt during the exile.
Sure.
So
okay.
That's what he's talking about there.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, the foot of neither man nor beast will pass through it. No one will live there for 40 years.
40 years, huh?
Yeah. I think you got that one wrong.
I think you got that wrong. You're right, because we actually did more research where it showed like there was like millions of people.
Millions of people
that were Jewish living in Egypt at the end of the exile.
Yeah, millions.
So
guys.
like that doesn't sound like they were
that's not 40 years of emptiness.
No.
Nope. I will make the land of Egypt desolate among devastated lands, and her cities will lie desolate 40 years among ruined cities. And I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries.
I'm going to go with this is a completely failed prophecy.
False. Yeah.
Like this is wrong. This is bad. Like
try again, God.
Again, I'm sure the apologists work really hard, and I am curious. Like I want to go over this in the Q&A.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
This is bad.
What do you guys have to say about this, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Like they're going to throw out things like they lost a battle to Babylon out in this area.
Right.
Or they lost a battle here and the king got deposed or whatever.
But this makes it sound like the same way he's talked about these other cities. I'm going to wipe you off the fucking map.
Yeah.
And that clearly did not happen.
Right.
Yet this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Is it?
At the end of 40 years, I will gather the Egyptians from the nations where they were scattered. I will bring them back from captivity and return them to Upper Egypt, the land of their ancestry.
Okay.
There they will be a lowly kingdom.
Huh.
It will be the lowliest of kingdoms and will never again exalt itself above the other nations. I will make it so weak that it will never again rule over the nations.
Interesting.
Egypt will no longer be a source of confidence for the people of Israel, but will be a reminder of their sin and turning to her for help.
Why would he make an exception among the nations that he's destroying, other than his own people, to bring the Egyptians back?
Because that's where they came out of captivity originally, and he's got a soft spot for them.
I think it's more of a understanding that it will never happen fully.
Yeah, probably.
Like we're not going to be able to complete this one.
I thought you were talking about why did God make an exception.
Oh, well, God doesn't exist, so that's a moot point.
So you actually meant why did the prophecy / writer people make an exception? Oh yeah, totally. They were like, I don't know, guys, it's Egypt.
Yeah, they're not going to actually.
They've been around forever.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're here as big as Babylon.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't. This doesn't make sense.
No. Then they will know
that he is the Lord?
The sovereign Lord.
Oh, the sovereign Lord.
He is the sovereign Lord. Yeah. Okay, we got another date.
Okay,
ready?
Yep.
In the 27th year, in the first month, on the first day, the word of the Lord came to me.
Okay. This sounds like much later, because that was the first one was like the 10th year or something.
Yeah.
So this is like 17 years later.
Yeah, this is April 26th, 571 BCE.
Okay.
The other one, this is 571. The other one was 587.
Yeah, that's a big jump. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man.
You mere human.
You fucking worm.
Right.
Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, drove his army in a hard campaign against Tyre. Every head was rubbed bare, and every shoulder made raw. Yet he and his army got no reward from the campaign he led against Tyre. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Why are we talking about Tyre now?
I don't know.
We were just talking about Egypt. We talked about Tyre the last two chapters.
I don't know.
It's a weird shift.
We're in a different little section.
Right.
Now.
No, but it's still a weird shift from Egypt back to Tyre.
Well, Babylon, kind of.
Yeah.
Tyre, Babylon. Yeah. He's saying Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, drove an army against Tyre.
Right. So this is the part where they got.
So let me go on because the next sentence might help clear it up. Okay. Sure. He and his army got no reward from the campaign he led against Tyre. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am going to give Egypt to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he will carry off its wealth. He will loot and plunder the land as pay for his army. I have given him Egypt as a reward for his efforts because he and his army did it for me, declares the sovereign Lord.
That's interesting. Because I was just curious because this is, we've looked this up before.
Yeah.
And basically even Google says, never happened. That didn't, there were some skirmishes, there was some shit happening, but that never happened. Nope. There was Nebuchadnezzar never
took over
conquered Egypt ever.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because that's
very false prophecy.
Yeah.
Very false prophecy.
Right. Now, from what I can see, there was some significant weakening of their power.
Sure.
But that was just because Nebuchadnezzar was very powerful and coming in, but they still held him off.
Yep.
So
Egypt is
what
still
it is.
The power that it is.
Yeah. Right.
It's still a big deal. We still talk about Egypt today.
Right.
On that day, I will make a horn grow for the Israelites, and I will open your mouth among them. Then they will know
that he's the fucking Lord.
That I am the fucking Lord.
Yeah.
The end.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that was a completely false prophecy.
It was.
In some regards. Again, I'm sure that apologists will say that the invasions that did happen and that weakened Egypt were the ones that God was talking about, right? Mm-hmm. But that just doesn't track in my mind, right? Because they're supposed to be gone for 40 years. He's going to scatter them for 40 years. Mm-hmm. That never happened. And you can pick it apart and say, well, but no, well. They were supposed to be destroyed for 40 years.
Yeah, and they weren't.
Right. Period.
And they certainly weren't empty land for 40 years.
Yeah. So this is wrong. God was wrong. God was not correct in the Bible.
But what I'm really upset most about is that where it says, you great lying monster, or you great monster lying among your streams.
Yeah.
In other translations, it's a crocodile, and I was going to sing a crocodile song.
Oh, now you have crocodile tears, huh?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm really sad.
That's sad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You don't even ask me, what's a crocodile song?
What's a crocodile song?
I have a crocodile song.
Do you want to sing the crocodile song?
I do.
Go ahead and sing the crocodile song.
Have you heard a crocodile song before?
Maybe. I don't recall, but maybe.
Okay, so this is how it goes. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, she sailed away on a bright and sunny day on the back of a crocodile. You see, said she, he's as tame as he could be. I'll ride him down the Nile. Oh, the croc winked his eye as she waved him all goodbye, wearing a happy smile. At the end of the ride, the lady was inside, and the smile was on the crocodile.
I have heard it before.
Isn't that
it was a long
the
time
best?
ago, but yes, I have heard that before.
I fucking love the crocodile song, and I was looking forward to it because my notes said that there would be a crocodile.
From what I looked that up too, just to but it is some sort of a reference to probably a crocodile or something.
Yeah.
So yeah. But you got to sing it anyway.
I know, but
we talked about it.
I had to force it in there, though.
You did have to force it in there.
I had to shoehorn it.
Yeah, much like God tried to force this prophecy into the Bible, apparently.
Oh my God, you just compared me to God.
I mean, you're much more real and better. So.
Aw, thanks.
Yeah, I'll take you over God any day.
Really?
For sure.
Aw, thanks. I love you too.
All right. I think that's all we got for today.
That's all we got for today.
So that was Ezekiel chapter 29.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that we will be back tomorrow with
Ezekiel chapter 30.
All right. We'll see you then.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you remember what we did yesterday and where the hell we are today?
Well, yesterday we read Ezekiel chapter 29.
We did.
And in that chapter there was crocodiles, sort of, but not really, because they were supposed to be, but then we didn't have them because they weren't in there. Mm-hmm. It was in other interpretations, apparently. But then you sang a song at the end.
I did.
So we had a crocodile song.
That was fun.
But the part that I remember the most is that God apparently prophesied the downfall for 40 years of Egypt.
Yeah.
They were going to be scattered and nothing and gone.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't ever happen in history.
No, it didn't.
It never happened.
No.
So I call bullshit on the Bible right there with a false fucking prophecy in the Bible.
Flag on the play, bitches.
Right? Yeah. So I whatever, that false prophecy. That's all I got to say.
Foul ball.
And that was Ezekiel chapter 29.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that today we're getting into
Ezekiel chapter 30.
And before we hop into this episode, I do want to mention one more time. I'll probably say this a few more times, actually. But if you are able to help us by shop, like if you shop on Amazon right now, all you got to do is hop over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com/shop. And it'll take you to a page where you can go to Amazon from our link, and it helps us get a kickback from your shopping on Amazon. And really would be appreciated if you would go there, bookmark that page, and help us out with that. That would be absolutely incredible. So if you get a chance to do that, do that. And that being said, let's go ahead and get into Ezekiel chapter 30.
Okie dokie. All right, we are getting into Ezekiel chapter 30, or as I like to call it, Ezekiel.
Okay.
And we are continuing our prophecies against Egypt.
Oh.
Those go from chapters 29 through 32.
So they didn't have enough of being wrong the first time they did the prophecy, so now they're going to continue to do it?
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
This particular chapter is going to describe the ruin of Egypt and all her allies by the Chaldeans under Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So that's what we're getting into today.
I just want to be clear here. I did a little bit more research, not like a ton, but just a little bit more research. And there were Nebuchadnezzar
skirmishes.
Definitely did weaken Egypt, but never fully conquered them.
No.
So I just want to keep that in mind as we're reading through, because
He put
I think it's really important when God is telling us that they will be destroyed and scattered for 40 years, that is incorrect. That is not true.
Somebody read the political winds, but they were the wrong way.
Right.
They didn't have their compass pointed the correct cardinal direction.
Yeah.
All right. Guess what happened?
Ezekiel heard from God.
Yep. The word of the Lord came to me.
Did it?
Son of man.
Yeah, mere human.
You fucking worm. Prophecy and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Okay.
This is what the sovereign Lord says. Wail and say, alas for that day. So say that you're going to say,
alas
that I said
day.
this.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
For the day is near. The day of the Lord is near. A day of clouds. A time of doom for the nations. A sword, the sword of the Lord, will come against Egypt, and anguish will come upon Cush. Although, depending on what translation we're reading, it's either Cush or Sudan or Ethiopia.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, so they don't even know what they're talking about from translation to translation, maybe?
They're on the same different kind of area, so...
Right. Like, thereabouts.
Yeah.
Over there.
Thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anguish is going to come on one of them cities over there.
Okay. Well, some of them are nations, but...
Whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
just saying.
I am geographically challenged, so anything I say with regards to geography cannot be held against me.
Sure.
Okay. When the slain fall in Egypt, her wealth will be carried away and her foundations torn down.
Okay.
Womp womp, sucks to suck. Cush and Libya, Lydia, and all Arabia, Cub, and the people of the covenant land will fall by the sword, along with Egypt.
But not.
Right.
I mean, not fully.
Right. Clearly.
Still.
Right. This is what the Lord says.
Okay.
The allies of Egypt will fall, and her proud strength will fail. From Migdol to Aswan, they will fall by the sword within her, declares the sovereign Lord. Remember we talked about from Migdol to Aswan yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. They will be desolate among desolate lands, and their cities will lie among ruined cities.
Okay.
So basically what they're saying is that when Egypt falls, all around her fall as well.
Right.
And so everybody's going to be lamenting the fall of Egypt, not just for the fall of Egypt itself, but for what it means
like
for surrounding
region.
areas.
Right. Yeah.
So that is funny.
And it falls in line. Like, I mean, obviously Nebuchadnezzar was making a huge push and conquering all kinds of people at this time. And so,
there were a lot of border skirmishes. And like I said, he did put a dent into Egypt.
Right.
He kicked them in the crotch, though.
Right.
He did not knock them down.
Right. No, I mean, I feel like we should dig into this quite a bit in our Q&A, because I am very curious about the historicity here versus like what the Bible is saying is going to happen / did happen. So
I'd actually like to do more than a Q&A on some Egypt history.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That would be more than
and how it lines up biblically or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a little bit of a research project for us. So, yeah. Then they will know that I am the Lord when I set fire to Egypt and all her helpers are crushed. You know, the way I like to murder everybody because I'm a murdery son of a bitch.
Right.
On that day, messengers will go out for me in ships to frighten Cush out of her complacency. Anguish will take hold of them on the day of Egypt's doom, for it is sure to come. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will put an end to the hordes of Egypt by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, because today I'm in love with him, but tomorrow I hate him for being the tool that he is.
Yeah. This whole thing is just, it's really weird to me because I feel like the whole point of most of this was to punish the Israelites, right? But now we're delving into all these other, groups of people and clans and different countries and everything, and they haven't really been a part of the Old Testament thus far, other than small bits, right? Like they've entered in small sections,
like a bit over there on the side,
right? And
like Bible adjacent.
And this feels like this Nebuchadnezzar king guy from Babylon. He's just like taking over history at this point, right? Or
whoever wrote this thought that was how it was going to go down.
Right. So I mean, he's just the biggest news of the time, right?
Right.
And so that's why he's being mentioned all over the place. And that's why it's even in the Bible where they're mentioning how much he's destroying and taking over and everything. I don't really feel like this has anything to do with prophecy or anything. It just, it's not a matter of feeling whether it has anything to do with it doesn't have anything to do with prophecy.
Right. It's all just politics.
Nebuchadnezzar was a powerful king that was ruling a powerful group of people that was conquering lots of other lands. That's all that was happening.
Yep. He and his army, the most ruthless of nations, will be brought in to destroy the land. I mean, I don't think they're going to destroy the land. I think they're going to take it and use it for their own.
Sure.
They will draw their swords against Egypt and fill the land with the slain. I will dry up the waters of the Nile and sell the land to an evil nation.
Babylon, I'm assuming.
No, he's saying that. Oh, yeah. Or I don't know who the evil nation is, but he's saying he's gonna fuck up Egypt and dry it up. And then he's going to sell Egypt to an evil nation.
Yeah.
By the hand of foreigners, I will lay waste the land and everything in it. I, the Lord, have spoken.
He's speaking of the Egyptians almost like he would speak of the Israelites, right? Like he's talking about foreigners are going to come in and do this thing, right?
Yep.
But in the past, Egyptians would have been foreigners.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the wording that we're using. I don't understand why we care so much about anybody other than the Israelites right now.
Yeah.
Because God has not cared about any of these people prior.
Except that he did not want them to laugh at him.
Right. No, it was more about you don't want to follow these. Like these people over here are all bad, right? Mm-hmm. But now that Babylon is coming in, all of a sudden they're all, these are all people that we care about what's happening to them suddenly.
Right.
And it's just really weird. It's just really weird.
It's not when you just put it in the same terms that you did earlier.
Yeah, no, I know.
You said, hey, some guy was coming through here with a, vacuum cleaner sweeping up. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will destroy the idols and put an end to the images in Memphis. Not Memphis, Tennessee.
No, yeah.
Memphis, Egypt.
Right.
Yeah. No longer will there be a prince in Egypt, and I will spread fear throughout the land. Oh, I forgot to say yesterday that they use the term prince and king in Egypt interchangeably.
Sure.
And the same as Babylon. They use it just like one minute they're saying prince and the next minute they're saying king.
Right.
And I personally think that it's a loose translation of some other kind of royalty leader that we maybe didn't have the correct word for.
Sure.
So,
well, and I mean, like oftentimes you would refer to the leaders of Egypt as pharaohs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's weird that we started calling them kings and princes and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I will spread fear throughout the land. Fear the Lord. Always fear the Lord.
Yeah.
Never not be afraid.
It's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will lay waste Upper Egypt, set fire to Zoan, and inflict punishment on Thebes. I will pour out my wrath on Pelusium and the stronghold of Egypt, and wipe out the hordes of Thebes. I will set fire to Egypt.
To the rain.
I set fire to Egypt. Pelusium will writhe in agony.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
No, I can't. I'm not Adele.
No.
What the fuck?
No.
Thebes will be taken by storm. Memphis will be in constant distress. It's like he's got 5 Egyptian cities and he's like, I'm going to run through these 5 names over and over again.
Right.
And tell you that I'm going to burn them and fuck them up.
Right.
And then I'm going to scatter, smother, cover them.
Right.
And then I'm going to fuck them up some more.
And I have no doubt maybe that some of these actually did get screwed up, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe they did get attacked and lots of people died. But obviously Egypt didn't lose.
Right.
So they either came back and fought back those places or something happened. Mm-hmm. And again, this is part of what I'm interested in learning more about.
Yeah,
but,
same.
It's not quite what they're saying, I don't think.
No. The young men of Heliopolis and Bubastes will fall by the sword, and the cities themselves will go into captivity. Dark will be the day at Topanes when I break the yoke of Egypt.
Okay.
Break the yoke of Egypt means that all of the people that they hold as slaves,
right,
will be
set free, or whatever.
But
right.
Not like because he loves setting slaves free. It's not about the people being held as slaves or the people being held as servants. It's about the fuck you, Egypt. Like,
right.
So stupid.
Yeah.
There her proud strength will come to an end, but it didn't, though. She will be covered with clouds, and her villages will go into captivity. So I will inflict punishment on Egypt, and they will know
that he's the Lord.
I'm the Lord.
Yeah.
In the 11th year, in the 1st month, on the 7th day, the word of the Lord came to me.
Okay.
Now, let me see what that day is. Scroll.
That have been like February or something, I think.
It's April 29th, 587 BCE.
Huh.
You were so wrong.
Well, I thought I remembered you saying the 10th month was like January or something. So
Yeah. Well, this is not the same calendar.
Got it.
So, no, you're wrong. Okay?
Yep.
Son of man.
You mere human.
You fucking worm. I have broken the arm of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
You broke his arm?
I broke his goddamn
Poor guy.
arm.
Yeah.
It has not been bound up to be healed or put in a splint so that it may become strong enough to hold a sword. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says.
Okay.
I am against Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Yeah. I will break both his arms, the good arm as well as the broken one, and make the sword fall from his hand. I'm going to cut off...
Merely a flesh wound.
I know, I was going to say, I'm going to cut off both of his legs and watch him bounce on the ground, trying to fight still.
Right.
I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries. I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon and put my sword in his hand. But I will break the arms of Pharaoh, which I already said.
Yeah.
And he will groan before him like a mortally wounded man. I just want to drive it home one more time. I'm going to have Babylon have good arms, strong arms, pretty arms, with my Lord of the Sword ward power. And then I'm also going to have Egypt with broken arms. And I'm going to break them and they'll be broken.
Right.
Okay?
I feel like we could have covered this in just like a few sentences. Like,
yeah.
God doesn't like Egypt. He made Babylon the sword of the Lord. They have strong arms, and they broke the arms of the Egyptians, and they died and got scattered.
The end.
Right, yeah.
I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon and put my sword in his hand, but I will break the arms of Pharaoh, and he will groan before him like a mortally wounded man. I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon.
Wait, are we still? Are you repeating, or is this?
I am not
still
repeating. I'm not repeating.
Okay.
I am still reading.
Jesus.
But the arms of Pharaoh will fall limp.
Because they're broken, right? We get it.
Like a dick.
Like who? Come on, man. We understand what you're saying here.
Do you understand that he will have broken arms?
I think I get it. Yeah.
And that his arms will be broken.
I'm pretty sure that's been driven home pretty strong.
And they're going to be limp.
Yeah.
Like a dick.
Although, if you break your arms, I feel like they wouldn't be limp. You'd be holding them in a way that, like,
oh, God. All I could think is every time I've ever been in pain and been in a car, and then every little jolt in the car bounces your pain.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
No. I've never even broken a bone, so this does not sound appealing to me.
Right.
Then they will know. What are they going to know?
That he's the Lord.
I'm the Lord when I put my sword into the hand of the king of Babylon and he brandishes it against Egypt.
We've talked about this before, too. The fact that he's sending a human being after people that he despises or whatever doesn't really bode well for his godliness.
Shh. I'm totally God.
No. If you're God, you could just fucking do this yourself, and you wouldn't even have to worry about somebody not completing the job because you're God.
You just don't know. You're just puny brain. You don't have the thinky bits to be able to understand everything I'm dealing with. I'm God.
Sure.
I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries. Then they will know
that he's the Lord.
That I'm the Lord at the end.
Okay.
Whee!
I am having a really hard time caring at all,
honestly, about
Egypt. And look, it's not about Egypt in particular. It's about the fact that we have been discussing the Israelites and the Israelites and the Israelites, and that's all that God has fucking cared about, unless it was something from another country affecting the Israelites.
Right. Like when Egypt was holding them hostage during the times of Moses.
And now all of a sudden in Ezekiel, which is the same time frame as Jeremiah, we're supposed to care about these other nations, right?
He's like, I'm going to fuck up Egypt. And it's like, okay.
And I'm just not seeing the point in it. I don't understand the point of this. Like, what is the point?
It's the point. You do know the point. The point is that the more that he is able to say, look at all of the bad things that I did, that makes him powerful, thereby making the people powerful.
Sure. But I also reject his idea of what power entails too. And I don't, it doesn't sit well with me that he's boasting about killing lots of people in order to prove that he is the Lord, like that.
That his dick is bigger than any of the other gods.
It just seems like a very toxic fucking god. That's all.
I own the most land. I have the strongest motherfuckers, and they all fear me.
Right. Only I can't actually stand up for myself, apparently, because I won't do anything myself now. I did in the past, sort of, kind of, maybe, if you read it just right.
I won't even talk to the people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I have to talk to these crazy motherfuckers that see fucking eyeballs and wheels and walk around naked in the goddamn desert and whatever. Fuck, it's fucking crazy.
It's stupid.
Like, this whole thing is crazy.
I have come to the conclusion that Bible, not a fan.
Right. I mean, I think we say that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, and we say this a lot too, I think it's still very important to understand these themes and these ideas, because they are ideas that are being read in a different light in this era.
Yeah.
In order to justify hatred toward other cultures and other people, and the fact that this stuff is in a book that some Christians are taking more and more seriously.
Well, like, for example, when people ask us all the time, why do you talk about politics so much? Why are you so blah, blah? Okay, so just FYI, for any Americans who aren't aware and for any of our foreign listeners, the Southern Baptists of America or whatever are having their little convention thing to try to start a movement to get rid of IVF.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Why are they doing that? Because they are fuck faces who are caught up in their fucking religion.
Right.
And that's why we talk about politics when we talk about religion. Not
just that, but what's the justice's name that just got in trouble for the flags and all that kind of shit?
Oh,
I can't remember his name off the top.
Alito?
That sounds close.
Is
at
it
least.
That guy?
I feel like I should have been prepared for this, but I'm just bringing this up off the cuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, we have right-wing nationalists, Christian nationalists in our fucking Supreme Court.
Yeah.
We have right-wing Christian nationalists in the form of MTG or Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert in our fucking Congress,
who talk about Jewish space lasers.
Right. We have Trump, who leads a fucking army of right-wing Christian nationalists
who say that they are proud to be Christian nationalists.
Yeah. No, it's actually getting a little bit scary in this country, and I don't want to sound like an alarmist, because I feel more so than you that we can come back from this, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the warning labels are all there on the wall.
Yeah,
like we're seeing a lot of shit that is in fact very scary with regard to how people are acting and how ideas about what is right and acceptable are changing in our country. And it's done this in my lifetime. And that to me is probably the scariest thing, because I actually felt like for a long time that we were moving to be a very much more progressive nation.
Right.
And it's suddenly not suddenly, but it has turned back the other way.
It's not just stagnated, it's literally turned backwards, so that the Overton window is so far in the negative that it will take another lifetime to move it back to where it was when you and I were children in the 80s.
Right. And that's honestly how, and we talk about this too, but there's some things that have still progressed, like social ideas still maintain the majority view as positively going in the right direction, right? But overall, we're ceding ground to the Christian right nationalists on almost a daily basis.
I feel like the Democrats in power, and I separate them from the progressives. Yeah. The Democrats in power are not taking this seriously enough.
I would agree with you there, and that's not to say that. I still say get out and vote for the Democrats. Like, that's the only way to ensure that we get this stuff resolved and fixed in our country.
Well, yeah, vote blue no matter who, because you vote for the person that you are most comfortable having the fight with.
Right.
And I feel like I can fight with Democrats
easier and
maybe get more ground
rationally.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I would say this as well, because, I think that you should also, if you have the ability to do so, support groups that are fighting for the right causes, like Planned Parenthood, Freedom from Religion Foundation, Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, You know, I'm going to miss a lot here, but like even on a more personal basis, like, you know, there's a lot of groups that can help fight things that are more progressive.
People that support LGBTQ rights.
Yeah, so I mean the Trevor Project.
Yes, thank you.
So there's lots of worthy causes to support out there, and I think that the only way that we are going to push back against the Democrats is to A, vote for them in the meantime, and B, show them where we truly stand by supporting these groups and having them fight harder for the progressive values that we actually hold dear. You know,
and these horrible progressive values are merely, we just have human rights and treat each other decently.
Sure.
Like, literally, can we just not burn the planet down?
That would be fantastic,
right?
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why universal health care or stuff like taking care of our kids and making sure that they're all fed properly. Like, I don't understand why these are controversial things.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. We're getting off on a little bit of a political tangent here, so let's bring it back to...
It's been a while, so I feel justified.
It has. But let's go ahead. Are you ready to wrap this up, or do you have any other notes on the chapter that we covered? Or
nope, that was it.
All right, so God's fucking Egypt up. That was Ezekiel chapter 30.
Sure as fuck was.
Which means that we will be back tomorrow on Saturday for...
Q&A Saturday.
And then since we missed it last week, on Sunday we'll be doing a...
Patreon.
And then I will get the weekly wrap-up together, and we will be back on Monday with...
Ezekiel or Ezekiel, chapter 31.
All right, we'll see you then.
Bye. Husband.
Wife.
Do you know what we're doing today?
Well, today is Saturday, which means that we're doing our...
Q&A Saturday.
That's right. And what are we Qing and Aing today?
Well, we're covering Ezekiel chapters 26 through 30.
Okay.
And that set of chapters started with some prophesying against the city of Tyre.
Right.
So I thought we would talk a little bit about that city.
Okay. And I think that you're just, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your information was a little bit of an overload this week with regard to things that we need to delve into.
Yes.
So I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that next week we're probably going to get into a little bit of the Egypt side of this as well.
Yes.
And hopefully we won't continue to overload ourselves as we keep going along here.
Right.
But we will get to Egypt.
Yes.
So bear with us. But right now it's all about Tyre.
Yeah.
Before we get into today's episode, I want to mention to everybody, one way you guys can help us out. Well, there's two ways. Patreon, obviously. There's a link on our website. Head over there. Help us get to our goal. But the other way doesn't require any extra money for you to spend. You can go to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com/shop, and it'll take you to a page where you can go to Amazon, and it'll give us a little kickback from what you spend there. So definitely help us out that way, and then that gets us to our Q&A for today. Are you ready, wife?
I am.
All right, let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, so we are doing a Q&A over Ezekiel, chapters 26 through 30, but I started looking at my notes with chapter 26, and I kind of just stopped there because I was like, hang on.
Yeah.
Let me learn more about this fucking city, Tyre.
Okay. I mean, it was described very intricately. And,
yes.
And there was a lot to what that city was about as far as a trade hub and everything like that.
Yeah. So I thought that would be a fun place to start because that is where we started.
Yeah.
The prophecy begins in chapter 26 and then ends in chapter 28. And it's a declaration of the judgments of God against Tyre.
Sure.
By Ezekiel. And Tyre was a very famous Phoenician commercial city on the Mediterranean coast north of Israel in modern day Lebanon. So it does still exist today.
Okay.
And that's kind of why I was like, wait, hang on.
Right.
Because wasn't it supposed to not?
I mean,
there's a
what
question.
They mean by completely destroy is very debatable in the Bible.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Like, we've got some apologist stuff coming ahead.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was a major seaport, which we covered during the week. And it was taken by Nebuchadnezzar after an arduous siege of 13 years. And
wow, a 13-year siege.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and there's a reason for that, which I'll get into the geography in a bit.
It's just funny how that got glossed over in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they want to make God seem very powerful.
So God
right? So it didn't take 13 years, obviously.
No,
God just took Tyre.
Came in and did it.
Right.
What? So Tyre is currently a city in Lebanon, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world.
Okay.
Though in medieval times, for some centuries, it was occupied by just a very small population.
Probably after the Nebuchadnezzar.
Medieval times, I'm saying.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
I gotcha.
Yeah. It's passed through many hands, and it has, kind of come and gone over the years, which
Sure.
apologists love to point to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
The city became a prominent Phoenician city-state between the 9th and 6th centuries BCE.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And it was one of the earliest Phoenician metropolises and the legendary birthplace of Europa. And I'm like, what's Europa again now? Besides, isn't that a moon of one of the planets?
Right. I don't know.
I don't even remember which planet it's a moon
I mean,
of.
it would almost have to be Jupiter or something, right?
I honestly, I don't remember. Well, we name our planets and stuff and their moons after Greek mythological creatures, Greek and Roman gods.
Sure.
In Greek mythology, Europa was a Phoenician princess from Tyre and the mother of King Minos of Crete. One Greek myth discusses her abduction by Zeus in the form of a bull.
Okay.
I don't know if you recall hearing that story ever. It's kind of gross.
I'm a little rusty on my Greek and Roman mythology.
Well, he's a bull, and he kidnaps and rapes her as a bull.
Got it.
Because we love us some sex with animals. Europa's earliest literary reference is in the Iliad.
Okay.
So there's that, and it is that story is commonly dated to the 8th century BCE.
Yeah.
And the continent of Europe is named after her.
Got it.
As is that one moon thing.
Yeah, which is also it is one of Jupiter's moons. It's the fourth largest moon of Jupiter and sixth largest moon in our solar system, and it's the smoothest object in our solar system as well. There you go. There's a little bit of science for you.
And Greek mythology and science. Love it. I honestly love that we name our heavenly bodies after Greek and Roman gods and goddesses.
Yeah, it would be so boring if it was after Jewish and Christian things.
Yeah.
Right? I'd be like, no, I don't. What? That's the moon Samuel.
And there goes Jesus shooting across the sky again. Yeah, interesting.
Right.
So the city of Tyre has many ancient sites, including the Tyre Hippodrome.
Okay.
It has been noted that one can call Tyre a city of ruins built out of ruins.
Okay.
Because it kind of...
It has been destroyed multiple times.
Yeah, but never...
Completely.
Never has it been unpopulated.
Got it.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Today, Tyre is the 4th largest city in Lebanon after Beirut, Tripoli, and Sidon.
Okay. Yeah.
There were approximately 200,000 inhabitants in the Tyre urban area in 2016.
Okay.
So not a lot, comparatively speaking, but
decently big city.
Right. This includes many refugees, as the city hosts 3 of the 12 Palestinian refugee camps in Lebanon.
Oh, okay. All right.
And this information was not up to date with what's happening now.
Oh, okay.
So it may be even more.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't really want to get into that. That would be another rabbit hole.
Yeah. So, no, I hear you.
And honestly, I don't know that would help with what we're trying to learn about today.
Sure.
So Tyre originally consisted of 2 distinct urban centers, which we kind of knew from having talked about it before. It was on an island and then also on the land proper.
Got it. Okay.
And that geography is part of why it took 13 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is so cool. Okay, Tyre itself, which was on an island just 500 to 700 meters offshore, and the associated settlement of Ushu on the adjacent mainland, later called Paletyris, meaning Old Tyre in ancient Greek.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the fortified city was on top of a rock, and it had two ports, the Sidonian port to the north, still partly existing today, and the Egyptian port to the south, which a lot of excavations in the water, what are those called? Like water searches? Where what are those called? Like where people go and they go under the water to like look for pieces of expedition. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
That's what I would call it, okay. I think. But just real quick though, you'd refer to them, they had built, like, the city sits on a rock, you said? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because when we were reading through and God was talking about destroying Tyre, he was talking about smoothing or clearing the rocks or something like that, which is an interesting... So it was truly referencing the physicality of the city. Which
exactly.
Is very cool.
That is, and it gets cooler.
Yeah.
Okay. So, some recent expeditions, like I'm talking within the last decade, have found some ruins in the water that we think might be the Egyptian side port.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is at the very least evidence that it is some kind of mass that was built containing those kind of structures. So it's very probable, but it has not been identified fully 100%.
Sure.
But we're pretty sure that's it, though.
Which
is just so cool to me.
Yeah.
How fucking old is that, right?
Right.
And then it also makes me start thinking about, the lost city of Atlantis and that kind of thing, and how, it probably fell into the water if it existed and that kind of thing. So, okay. Sorry, that's totally unrelated. All right. So, blah, 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 on a rock and still exists.
Yeah.
Part of it. Okay. So throughout history, from prehistoric times onwards, all settlements in the Tyre area profited from the abundance of fresh water supplies, especially from several nearby springs, both north and south of the area. Okay. So it was both open to the world and self-contained at once.
Sure.
So it was like the perfect location for what it was doing.
Right. Yeah.
It's just kind of amazing.
Right.
The present city of Tyre covers a large part of the original island and has expanded onto and covers most of the causeway, which I will talk about later, built by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. Okay.
Yeah.
This causeway just melted my brain, just so you know. Okay. So there's an isthmus that was created that increased greatly in width over the centuries because of extensive silt deposits on either side.
Okay.
And the part of the original island not covered by the modern city of Tyre is mostly of an archaeological site showcasing remains of the city from ancient times.
Okay.
So there have been attempts over the years to try to maintain the historicity, to showcase it. And to, I think current day, they're trying to maybe turn it into like a tourist site so that they can get more funding to make it even more historically accurate.
Got it.
So very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Though it has suffered a number of devastating earthquakes over the millennia, the threat level is considered to be low in most places and moderate in a few others. And the reason I mention that is because it's on a fault.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why that is kind of important. A tsunami following an earthquake and subsequent landslides and floods do pose major natural risks to the Tyrian population.
Okay.
So the earthquake itself wouldn't be the problem necessarily, but if that fault moves and there is a quake big enough, all of the other stuff that comes with it would devastate that area.
Got it.
Vast reserves of natural gas are estimated to lie beneath Lebanese waters, much of it off Tyre's coast.
Okay.
But exploitation of that has been delayed by border disputes with Israel.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, bring it around, right?
Right.
Early names of Tyre include the Akkadian Suru, the Phoenician Sur, and the Hebrew Sor. And what those names all have in common, besides kind of sounding the same, they come from the same root, which means rock.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
In Semitic languages, as I said, the name of the city means rock, after the rocky formation on which the town was originally built.
Okay.
It went under Persian rule in 572 BCE before being conquered by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. So when God said that it would be conquered by many nations would come against it.
Right.
That actually is a thing that came to pass.
Sure.
So.
But again, and we talk about this when we've been reading through these prophecies, is that these things that were happening aren't happening in a void.
Right.
Right. They're happening. They're being telegraphed. Like these armies that are conquering. It took them 11 or 12 years or whatever to conquer 13 to conquer Tyre. Right. Mm-hmm. And they've run into many, like even Jerusalem took many years to fully conquer. So, I mean...
Yeah, I'm just pointing out that this was written at one point, probably not by Ezekiel.
Sure.
But still well before... It probably was not written before Babylon took over, Nebuchadnezzar, right? I mean, we don't really believe in that stuff. So I'm pretty sure it was written after that.
Yeah.
But... Then we get into Persian rule in 572, and then a couple hundred years later, Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. Yeah. So I'm just saying that's interesting. It has passed hands. Nations did come against it.
Right.
And at one point, one of the prophecies also, and please do not take my enthusiasm to mean that I believe in these prophecies. I just think it's fun the way I think a fucking tarot card reading is fun, even though I don't believe in it.
That's what I was saying, though, is that like these people that were conquering these nations and these cities and everything, they're telegraphing their movements. These people, even if they did say that these things were going to happen before they happened, somebody was able to say, look, they're going to be here any day. Right. And they're going to start trying to attack these people and those people, and this is all going to go down. Yeah. And it's not hard to see that, look, there's like 3 or 4 different warring nations like heading to this area. Right. Some fucked up shit's going to go down.
Yeah. It's not good times.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that that's real hard to fucking telegraph. It's
you're right.
Right there in front of you.
You are totally right. Again, I'm just putting it out there as an enthusiastic, that's cool.
There is some validity to some of the claims, whether or not they were written, it doesn't matter when they were written, they are still a valid statement.
Yes, I think that's what I mean to say is I can see why a believer would read this and be like, oh, wow, that's magic. That happened.
Right.
And, I couldn't really, besides saying, yeah, magic doesn't exist. That's silly. Like, besides that, I can't really argue with them because, well, yeah, stuff did kind of happen, but...
Right. But you can argue other points, like they also prophesy the destruction and scattering of Egypt for 40 years, which didn't ever happen.
Right.
And we'll be getting into that next week.
Sure.
But, I mean, there are definitely things that are right and some things are wrong. And, I feel like it's all a matter of who decided to put what into the fucking book.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And it is what it is, so.
So let's talk about that causeway.
Okay.
So the development of Tyre was profoundly affected by the construction of a causeway built by Alexander the Great in 332 BCE to seize the city.
Okay.
So here's what was happening. On the island itself, right, it's built on rock.
Sure,
okay?
Yeah.
And then the city on the land was actually kind of soft ground, like a lot of silt and stuff.
Okay.
So it was people approaching it, either part of it had a lot of trouble reaching it.
Sure.
So Alexander the Great was like, fuck this shit. Like he kept trying to take them and could not get there. He just could not get there.
Yeah.
So instead of like making better boots or whatever, he was like, okay, I'm just going to basically get some rocks from Home Depot or whatever, and I'm going to build myself a motherfucking street.
Right.
And that's what he did.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now on a map. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. So he basically attacked this place by laying ahead of himself strong ground that would hold him and his army.
Right.
And that is just amazing. And so he was able to walk right in and take it.
I mean, that's really smart.
Yeah.
It's really smart.
Yeah. So, I mean, Alexander the Great wasn't called great for nothing. Okay. I'm just saying he had a lot going for him, this guy.
Right. Yeah.
So the Syriac and Akkadian languages left a linguistic mark on the Arabic spoken in the region of Tyre at that time.
Okay.
Most notably with the widely used term Baali.
Okay.
Where do we know that term from?
It's master, God, whatever.
Right, which originates from the Baal religion,
Sure.
right? Today, the term is used to describe vegetables and fruits from rain-fed, untreated agricultural production.
Okay.
So you're a fucking fruitcake Baali. So it's just interesting that word, although it means something totally different now, it did survive through the ages, even though we were supposed to forget that.
Right.
Not only did we not forget, it was written down in the fucking Bible, and the word itself became stupid and meaningless and is a goddamn fruit.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
So that's funny to me.
Yep.
The Tyrian municipality of Ain Baal is also apparently named after the Phoenician deity. So
okay,
it stuck around.
Sure.
Baal.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I have a note called Bible stuff. Okay.
Bible
Enough
stuff.
about Tyre, history and geography. Let's talk about some Bible stuff.
Sure.
Okay. So according to Joshua chapter 19, the fortified city of Tyre was allotted to the tribe of Asher. And I'm glad to have read that because I don't recall that at all.
I don't even remember that tribe, honestly.
Asher?
Yeah. Was that one? They feel like they must have disappeared early because I don't hardly even remember them.
Yeah. The only reason I remember it is because we knew a kid whose older brother was named Asher.
Oh, yeah.
And so that stuck in my head.
Sure.
But
Okay.
yeah, that was one of the tribes, and they were the ones who had Tyre.
Got it. Yeah.
King Hiram I of Tyre allied himself with David and Solomon in 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, and 1 Chronicles.
Okay.
And King Hiram provided architects, workmen, cedar wood, and gold to build the royal palace in Jerusalem as well as the temple.
Okay.
And I kind of remember that from the non-Tyre side of the story.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Tyre is mentioned in the book of Isaiah as being forgotten for 70 years when her, quote, fortress is destroyed, and after which, quote, her profit and her prostitutes' wages will be sacred to the Lord.
Okay.
And that,
I kind of vaguely remember that, actually.
but although her fortress was destroyed, she did not get forgotten for 70 years. So
Got it. Right. Yeah.
Oh, another thing that they say that was one of the prophecies was that it would only be known as a place to lay your fish nets. And for a few centuries, it was nothing but a little fishing village.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And that's into the ADs.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Well,
So
after
it did come down in stature quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. So. And I'll just go ahead and get into that a little bit now. Apologists say, yeah, the prophecy said it would never be rebuilt. And I'm going to totally read God's mind and tell you what he meant by that was rebuilt to its previous glory. As in, a huge hub and a fishing, a port and blah, 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 with the security and the money and all of the fame and the wealth that it had. That's what he meant. I know this because I, too, speak to God maybe kind of never. I'm like, but why do you think you know that?
Right.
They just say it so factually. What he meant was, and I'm like, why do you think you know that?
Yeah.
What authority has been granted you that you think you know that?
Well, yeah, I think the answer to that is that the authority that's been granted to them is that God is real in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that must be what he meant.
And so there has to be a reason why this city still exists and has 200,000 people in it.
Right.
And it's that it can't mean that it wouldn't be rebuilt. It wouldn't be rebuilt to this extent.
Right.
Right.
But and
even this extent is arbitrary based on whatever I decide that means. So.
Right. Until it matches up, I will continue to move the goalpost.
Right.
To make it match.
Yeah.
I have to glue these pages together.
That's almost anybody who is trying to defend their religion to somebody who doesn't believe in it. That's almost the entirety of their argument is that I'm going to defend this to the nth degree, and there will be a reason to explain everything. Mm-hmm. There is an explanation for literally everything because there has to be.
Right.
And I will create one if there isn't one.
And I will say it with authority.
Yeah.
And act like, what? That's just the facts.
Yep.
And that's the part that kills me, though, is that they just give themselves the authority. And then they're like, what? Of course it's this way. Didn't you know?
Right.
Like, no, because I am actually reading these words for the first time ever. And I'm like, that doesn't match.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't match. I'm sorry.
Right.
Because it has been rebuilt.
It has.
Not to its former glory. You are right. But that is not what it
That's
fucking
debatable
said.
even there. I mean, like, what would you consider former glory? I mean, it has electric now, probably. It has, like, there's so many greater things that it has now that it didn't have then.
Right.
So who's to decide what is the greater glory, right? I'm not one to judge, what that distinguishing marker is, but I would say that there are some people who, if they lived in those ancient times in that city and then came here, they'd be in awe and wonder as to what it is.
That's true. That is true. You are 100% right.
So,
but I also saw some apologists that were like, part of why the city was so despised by the Lord was because they sold humans there proudly, and so God had to destroy them for doing slavery. And I'm like, okay, hold on.
God condoned slavery.
I'm like, look, do not make me defend slavery, because that is despicable.
Yeah.
I agree with you that God should have wanted to destroy this city because it proudly engaged in the selling of slaves.
But even in that chapter, that wasn't the reason.
That was not the reason, though.
Right.
It should have been.
Should have been.
And I am glad that you agree that slavery is wrong.
Right.
I wish you would tell the rest of your white right-wing brethren.
Yeah.
Because I think they want to bring that shit back.
Right.
But no, that's not what happened.
Right.
Okay, so Tyre is also mentioned in the book of Ezekiel, of course, which is why we're covering this,
right.
Which prophesied its permanent destruction. And that was in chapter 26, verses 3 through 14.
Sure.
The main settlements were destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, but after a 13-year siege from 586 to 573 BCE, the king of Tyre made peace with Nebuchadnezzar, going into exile and leaving this island city itself intact.
Huh.
Yeah. So
interesting.
That is
and
why.
That's not how it was described either. That was never mentioned. And from what I understood from the prophecy was that it was going to be
smashed overnight.
Destroyed, completely wiped off.
Yeah.
But no, he cut a deal.
Basically what happened is after 13 years, Tyre was worn down.
Yeah.
And after that long, he was like, look, I'll go into exile. You take this shit, but leave the island alone. They shook hands on it. And that's what happened. That is different from Nebuchadnezzar came in and with his strength knocked the whole thing down. No, It was with a handshake, bitches.
Yeah. Well, and this is part of what I was like. God likes to flex, saying he's using this Nebuchadnezzar guy as his sword of the Lord, right? And he's going to use him to utterly destroy his enemies and show his power and everything. But it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
He's not utterly destroying these people. Nebuchadnezzar is definitely a powerful person who is taking over quite a bit of land in the Middle East at this point.
Yeah, I don't dispute that at all. Like, he definitely conquered some shit.
Right. But the way that they're describing it in the Bible is that they are completely wiped away from history.
It's all rubble.
Right?
Period. The end. It's all rubble.
Yeah. And if he was truly a god, he could do one of two things. Do that himself or make sure that his tool did it for him.
And did the whole job.
Yeah. And neither of those things happened.
Right.
And you would think that if his tool couldn't finish the job, that God would have just been like snapping his fingers and being like, y'all done.
Or either
whatever.
that or brought in like a second, third, and fourth tool. I don't know.
Just to complete the fucking you can't. God tells people early on in the Bible to kill people for sharing a false prophecy. Yet in the Bible, in my opinion, there are false prophecies in the fucking Bible.
Yeah, totally. And this is one of them, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Alexander the Great used debris from the mainland to build a causeway to the island, which is kind of what we talked about, entered the city and plundered it, sacking it without mercy. So Nebuchadnezzar did not, but Alexander the Great did.
And some people, I'm sure, apologists point to that as well, but that can't even be right either, because the Bible specifically points out Nebuchadnezzar as the person who's going to do this.
Although it does say that the city will come under many nations.
Sure. Okay.
So,
all right.
There's always something,
All right. Yep.
Most of the residents at that point when Alexander the Great came in were either killed in the battle or sold into slavery.
Got it.
Which is kind of ironic since that's what their big
they were doing,
trade was.
Sure.
It was quickly repopulated by colonists and escaped citizens and later regained its independence.
Oh. Okay.
Tyre did eventually enter a period of decline, being reduced to a small remnant.
Got it.
Which I really appreciated using that word in my notes. Was it a remnant?
Yeah.
Because God said there wouldn't be a remnant.
Right.
But
That's funny.
there was a remnant.
Was there a remnant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, the nearby area grew rapidly in the 20th century.
Okay.
So, we're up to modern days.
Yeah.
The ruins of a part of ancient Tyre has been declared a protected site historically.
Sure.
UNESCO, what is that? Like they're the world...
sure, I think I know what you're talking about.
This is a historical site population
I don't
group
know
association.
I don't know what they are, but
I think they're a European organization, maybe.
That probably sounds right. I'm actually looking it up right now. It's the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
Okay.
And it is
a World Heritage.
They protect World Heritage sites and stuff like that.
So that tracks then.
Yeah.
So they're like your little local historical society, but for Earth.
Right.
Yeah. Which is cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they declared it a protected site. Okay. So that is cool. Like it's going to be preserved, and that is awesome.
Yeah.
And it can still be seen on the ruins of part of ancient Tyre can still be seen on the southern half of the island.
Yeah.
Whereas modern Tyre occupies the northern half and also sprawls across Alexander's Causeway and on into the mainland.
Sure.
So
okay.
That is my brief ditty on Tyre.
All right. And that was an interesting history lesson.
I thought so. As soon as it said Tyre still exists. Like I was like, hold on, I can't go any further.
Yeah. No, I mean that was kind of my whole hang up with Egypt too.
Yeah.
So I mean
we'll get there.
No, I know. I feel like Egypt might be even more of a conundrum for the Bible as opposed more so than even Tyre.
Yeah.
Because Tyre eventually did fall to Alexander the Great, and like there was some, you can be more apologetic for some of the things that happened to Tyre, right?
It definitely apologists can make a case.
Right.
I'm not saying I agree with their case, but a case can be made.
Sure. So it is what it is. I mean, you and I, from our perspective, don't believe any of the bullshit that the Bible is pitching to us. Like it is completely, and there's no backing to any of it.
Right. It's all politics.
And it is based on some actual events that have happened, but how those things are inserted into the Bible is in a very God-centric and very nationalistic sense. Like it's very centered around this Israelite tribe and how they perceive the world at that time.
Yeah.
So it's not very fair to actual history with regard to what happened.
Right.
So anyway, thank you for doing all the research on Tyre there. That was amazing.
Cool. Thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. And that being said, so we will be back tomorrow. Not sure what we're going over, but it's Sunday, so we'll be doing our
Patreon.
And then I will get our weekly wrap up out, and we'll be back on Monday with
Ezekiel chapter 31 ?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So we'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Hey wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.